Welcome back to a family business podcast. We've got some crazy, exciting things to share with you today. I'll let Andrea kind of bring us into what we'll be doing, and then we'll kind of dive into it a little bit further.
Was there a
Wait.
real estate sale or a potential sale, Andrea?
What would be so exciting that happened in real estate in the last week?
I don't know. Maybe one of the world's biggest real estate companies was purchased.
Hasn't been purchased yet, but it is going to be purchased.
Yeah, correct.
It's being acquired.
Acquired. That's the right
Yeah,
word.
yeah. So if you've been living under a rock and you're in real estate, the news that hit last Monday, so a week ago today, because we're recording this on a Monday and it's going to hit you guys this Friday, was that Real Broker, our broker that we love so much, is acquiring Remax.
That is correct. And shocking news to a lot of people. And quite frankly, I was kind of shocked as well that a lot of the traditional brokerages, which I would consider them as a part of a traditional brokerage, they are normally, they are what they are, and they don't want to change drastically, that it's always worked. But I'll tell you what, Remax, they're ready to make a change.
Yeah. So I think, so this is the crazy part about all of this. So last week we were in Miami, which was planned long before any of this announcement came out. We were in Miami for actually 3 days. The first day was, it's called $100 million Roundtable, and then Growth Ambassadors with Real, and then our entire, as I've started to call them C-suite. Brad makes fun of me, but the corporate leadership.
She said that to somebody yesterday, and I'm like, I don't know if they really understood what you're saying.
Anyway, I don't think that person actually understood anything we were saying, but anyway.
Very young lingo.
So that was Tuesday. So it was quite awesome because we literally got to spend the day with Tamir Polig, Jenna, I'm sorry.
Jenna.
Our legal, Ravi, everybody was there. Joel Gersh, everybody. And it was kind of cool because we just got to literally, what happened at the beginning, it kind of was PT, I don't know how we're going to do this podcast, but we're going to get there. But the cool thing is so on Tuesday, obviously there was an agenda for what that was supposed to happen, right?
Okay.
And then obviously that announcement came on Monday. So all that changed. And the beginning of the meeting or the conference or whatever we're calling it, training, literally they just said, okay, put your phones down, stop recording. We're shutting off our videographers, and this is an open Q&A. So, and I think the reason why they did that is because there's a lot of, and there still is, guys, a lot of noise and rumors and incorrect information floating around out there. So I think maybe that's the best way to approach it is PT, some of the things you're hearing or you've seen on social, questions that maybe you even have, because we honestly haven't had a chance. We got back late Saturday night and have hit the ground running, and we've been so busy in normal real estate stuff. We haven't had a chance to catch up. So questions that maybe you've seen, I think this is a good way to get into some of that and unpack it.
Absolutely.
And we'll share whatever we can share.
Yeah, I think the biggest question that a lot of people have is, why? At the end of the day, is potentially why did this happen? Real is known as the fastest growing real estate brokerage, and why would they step outside to potentially put themselves in a position that might take that away potentially from the outside perspective?
Yeah, they
opportunity.
Wanted a huge opportunity to own, like we had mentioned, one of the biggest and most recognized real estate brands in the world. But the main reason is it gives options too, right? So you have two different styles totally. As we've noticed around here, the Remax franchise is a little bit older, and the Real brokerages, is that the correct way to say it?
Sure.
They tend to be a little bit younger. So it's a good way for Real as a company to attract older agents that are used to the traditional system where you go into the office every day and you do all the rest of that. And it's also a way to just give options.
Yeah. One of the biggest things when I started this out is opportunity. So a fun fact about this whole thing that we learned is that way back February of 2021, Tamir had this thought process, basically like, hey, we have this great tech. Remax is a very well-respected brand. Like Brad just said, they've been around forever. They do things the right way. And he kind of ran it by a couple people and they all kind of thought, that's crazy. We're not going to do that. Now fast forward to May of 2026?
Yeah.
I guess it was April when it was announced. And one of the things I think that stood out to Tamir and it stood out to us when we were asking these questions, that one of the first meetings when this, because you never know how it's going to go, right?
Sure.
It's like, okay, we're going to talk about it. We're going to see if it makes sense for both of us. If it makes sense for both of us, then we move forward with additional discussions. So Tamir said one of the first conversations that he had with Eric, the CEO of Remax, that really set him up for the thought process of, I think this is something can work, is about culture. And, we've talked about this over and over again. For real, and culture is the most, as Brad says, most overused word, but it truly is for us. We have just a different kind of culture than any real estate company that we've been a part of, which is only one, I guess, or I guess know about. And that was one of the things that he said stood out from him was Eric was very much about how it worked for us and having that culture because how important that was for him.
Right. And I think that there's a common thought process out there that they're two completely different business models. But I think the thing that connects both Remax and Real is the culture, right? That they both kind of are very similar in the thought process of how important culture is at the end of the day.
Yeah. And back when I started, Remax was kind of like the Real. I mean, they were very like, what's the word for it? Cutting edge, lower splits with their agents, which a lot of these bigger brokerages, I mean, that was unheard of. All the while getting all the support just like you do at Real. And Real's kind of taken it to the next level, I think, where Remax made it more agent centric, but
Than the traditional model.
than the traditional model. And then Real's gone to the next level of it's all about the agent and the leaderships in the background. Now, obviously, in the last week, they've been in the forefront of the news. But to be quite frank with Real, what's so cool about the company is that's not where they really want to be. I mean, they want to make you excel rather than the name of the brokerage.
And
Absolutely.
one of the things that stick to, you said why PT, right? And it's opportunity. It's also, Brad, I want to go back to something you said because I just want to clarify this because I think, and I know what you meant, but I just want to make sure our listeners understand because you said in attracting Remax agents. And this purchase or acquisition that's in process was not done to attract Remax agents to Real. It was literally it's literally happening. So there is two different options from a client facing perspective and from an agent facing perspective. The bonus for Remax is, like we've already said, they've got a great business. They do things the right way. Their agents are very well trained. I don't have the stat. I'll find it, but there is the average number of transactions.
11 and a half.
Okay, thank you.
And I hear it correctly that's number one in the industry.
Yes, 11 and a half by 5 transactions.
So they know how to sell real estate, right? Okay. So just imagine now, like, and this is Tamir's mind, right? Is like, okay, so you have agents that already know how to sell real estate. You have a system and offices and collaborations and culture in these places. Now let's add in the Real's tech staff. They will have tech stack. They will have access to our Reason platform. Is that what I'm trying to say? Not everything in it, but for the most part, a lot of it. They will also have access to Real Wallet. So that's 70,000 agents in North America that will have access to Real Wallet and also One Real Title, One Real Mortgage. Now we understand that some Remax offices have their own title, but that's, but at least your client has multiple options. So that was a big thing, right? Like, and for a Real agent, maybe you have someone that you've tried to attract to Real, but it wasn't quite the right fit because they felt it was a little too futuristic, which, I think that a lot of people that have come on board, they're a little bit older, have realized that it's very easy, even though it is futuristic. But now you have the Remax option, right, for them, right? So they go hand in hand. They're different brokerages in the way they operate, and they complement each other amazingly.
Yeah. And what I would say to the Remax agents are that you're going to be amazed with the options that you will have now in tech. Now, as a Real agent, the reason why we chose Real and not Remax when we originally went over was that we like the hands off. You do your own business. We'll give you all the support you can, and you're the one that can run your own business, and we're not going to get in your way. And that's why it's been a cool concept at Real. But I really think for Remax agents, those of you that are nervous about what's going on here, you shouldn't be at all. I mean, it's a great company and it's just going to help you.
Absolutely. Now that we've kind of peeled back the shell here on why this happened or why this is happening, there's also been discussion out there of how is it going to work moving forward? What is the branding going to look like? Is it going to mesh together? Is it going to be separate? I know we talked about it a little bit, but go a little bit more in depth of what branding or these two separate companies moving forward is going to look like.
Yeah, that was a hot topic on social media. It's funny because I saw so many crazy posts going around before we sat down, that morning with Tamir. But at the end of the day, there will be, it's going to be called Real Remax Holdings. Is that correct? Or Real
Remax Group, I believe.
I think you're correct. So that's our holding company, right? So no different than I think Compass is Compass Holdings, right? And then all the brands are underneath of that. It's going to be the same, operate the same way. So Real and Remax will still be their own brands. Real will be Real, Remax will be Remax, especially up until the acquisition is final, which again is supposed to, if all things align, will be end of August, beginning of September. At that point, it's still a little bit gray on what will be available to both sides. But at the end of the day, real agents will be able to use with clients the backing of Remax and the things that they offer, right? Which we'll get into in a little bit. And likewise, Remax agents will be able to use Reels, like our tech stack and some of those things as a benefit to clients and whatnot. So we're still going to be two different entities and two different brokerages. There will be no at this point, there will be no combined marketing. Not that one can't use the Remax marketing. Like, let's say if you like the example that was used in our meeting was you go on a listing appointment, you have the Real, here's what Real offers. You could also have a sheet of, hey, we're also a part, this is also part of our, yes, correct. And these are the different things that they offer or that we can offer because we're affiliated and vice versa. Remax agents could do that for Real, but there won't be at this point any Real Remax or Real Max or some of the stuff I've seen. Remax agents will not have to put Real Broker on their signs. That's all crazy talk. People that are saying that do not understand what it means to have. I mean, like right now, people don't have to put. You're with some of the like Berkshire Hathaway or whoever the people that Compass, they don't have to put Compass on their signs. Right. I mean, that's just nonsense.
Well, and the one deal that we haven't even mentioned yet that's huge is that because Real and Remax are merging, that makes them the number 2 overall real estate
in the world.
Company in the world. What that does though is it gives them the data, right? Mm-hmm. Which is huge because we all know of a website that Andrea loves, Zillow. They control a lot of the data, and that's why this Compass thing, which we've talked about on past podcasts, that's why they're kind of going after Zillow, is that they're like, wait a second, this is our data. So now between Compass and Real Remax, that's a lot of data that we're going to have, which is going to benefit making more money off of the data rather than Zillow make the money off of the data. So that was part of the move too, is that you have two successful real estate companies. You have one here that's been around for a really long time, and then you have one that's an up and comer that is already in the top. What were we last year in the top 5 or 6?
We were number 5.
Yeah, I mean that's incredible in that quick a time. Mm-hmm. So you merge those two companies, that's a pretty powerful company.
Well, and to add what Brad just said, so Remax, obviously most people know, have a phenomenal website, and that's one of the things that Tamir talked about. So, but the one thing that they don't have is the tech behind that website. Correct. So it's obviously gets great exposure. There's a lot of action on the Remax website. They get approximately 1 million high intent leads on the Remax website annually. Okay. Wow. So now let's take the Real tech stack like Leo and how he's able with our AI concierge and the buyer concierge, he can work and nurture those leads, and then those can be referred back to the agent. So rather than an agent paying Zillow for a lead, whatever their ridiculous number is, it can be a more reasonable number because we already have the infrastructure because we own our tech, right?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, that's an awesome thing for both sides of it, right? Real agents and Remax agents, that's something that will be able to be utilized across the board.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's always that argument too about tech. Like how does that benefit the real estate agent? That's all great. But when you look at the AI, which is another podcast that we're getting into with Real, it's incredible.
Yeah. And I think we did a great job of getting into it, and we'll talk a little bit more about what each side is going to bring to the table for agents at the end of the day. But to touch back on what we spoke about, branding, you have to think of it as an umbrella company, right?
Yep.
The only combination that is going to take place is at the top, and then everything below it will still operate to our knowledge as it is currently.
That's
So,
Yeah,
correct.
there will be one board, so I
right,
think that will change. So there will be 3 members from the Remax board will join Reels board, so that it is a more equal,
Yeah.
complementary. Is that the right way
Yeah.
that you would say it? Board. So that will happen. We will have some other shared things like our work vivo that will be shared for communication, and the biggest thing for that is referrals, right?
sure,
And that already happens. Like, you usually refer someone to a real agent, but like we have an exp agent that has family here in the Quad Cities. They refer
Okay.
business, and that will happen, but it will just be easier. That is one of the things that is the highest priority, and they're working on already, is the lead exchange platform to work inside a reason. So whether you're a Remax agent or a real agent, that opportunity to do referrals will work just seamlessly inside of it. So yeah.
awesome. That sounds fantastic. Let's talk a little bit something else that was in front of the public eye. Both companies are publicly traded, so let's talk finance with our finance bros out there.
Yeah.
Let's get into. I think everybody saw Remax Holdings went up and Real went down, and
Yep.
people were concerned. Why does that happen, and what is going on with stock?
It always happens. So whichever company buys the other company, which I mean, it's a merger, but Real's buying Remax. So how that works is they are going to take on more debt, right?
There you go.
So they look at Real as, I'm going to sell this, that I don't know what's going to happen, right? But Remax has been around for a very, very, very long time, and that's going to combine into one stock. So I'm not a stockbroker, and I'm going to disclaim that right now. However, between the two companies, investors like liquidity and they like cash, right? So that means that if you're cash heavy, which between the two companies they will be, that stock, which will all be called REAX now, so it
Yeah,
will all be Real.
so for Ed Stulak, as he confirmed and clarified in our meeting on that Tuesday, he does not have to get a new hat. Okay, so if
Right.
you're listening,
So it's
Ed,
all good.
you can keep your hat.
So it's all good. So what's great though is that it will all be one stock. And once again, disclaimer, I'm not a stockbroker, but long term, I really think the REAX stock will be absolutely amazing. So if you haven't bought REAX stock, buy it today.
Yeah, we're buying as much as we possibly
Bye,
can.
bye, 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 bye.
Before
Right.
then, well, and like Brad just said too, the other thing is right now, and some people know this. We know this because when we went to join Real, we reached out to our stockbroker. And we're like, hey, can you buy more of the stock for us? Because we want to have more of it, knowing that we're going to help grow this company and we can see the future, right? Which any stock, that's how it works, right? And at that time, it's if your stock is under $5, it's what they call penny stock, right? I think that's kind of crazy because it's obviously not pennies, but and so a lot of the big investors, we fall below that threshold in order for them to do trades. So you'll have more liquidity for both people when the stocks merge because the stock demand will go up. And so that, like Brad said, it will attract more investors. Our stock will trade at a higher value. And that's a cool thing, right?
Yeah.
That's what the
No.
finance bros wanted right there.
Well,
right
Yeah.
there, Andrea,
that's what
that
they
was
want,
it.
and they're also going to like the long term planning too. Like we didn't even talk about this, but there'll be one CEO, there'll be one CFO, there'll be one of each rather than paying two people. And also, Real, as a lot of people know, their headquarters is basically in the cloud, so there's not a lot of expenses there. Whereas Remax has a huge corporate office, and that's another thing that they'll be cutting down on the expenses there, that they won't need all the space. So there's a lot of good that's going to come out of this, and I'm just not seeing the negative. I mean, that's a
Yeah, and I think too, like when you say that, Brad, I'm sure if they're a Remax agent listening right now, you're freaking out. You're like, "What do you mean they're going to cut this? They're going to cut that?" It's not really. It's so Jenna Rosenblatt. Hopefully, I said her name right. She's going to be what they're calling the chief integration officer, and it's not so much like eliminating positions. It's more merging, working together, figuring out where different people's talents can be utilized so that we don't have two of every position. That would be silly, right? So that is a way, like Brad just said, we can lessen that debt, right? Help them.
Yep.
And that's good for Remax. I mean, they would be the first to tell you. I mean, and obviously they wouldn't be considering this as a viable option if they didn't think that, hey, this is going to happen regardless. And hey, we haven't, because of the way that the industry has changed, we've done all the things right, but we're not in the best position now because of what's happening in the market. Like everybody's getting gobbled up. It's just the way it is. So, I think if there's any company that I would want to be partnered with, I think that like Brad said, I mean, Remax is very well respected. It's a cool thing for both sides of the fence to have that. And the other way that they're going to eliminate some of that debt is, like Brad said, our tech staff, right? There's things right now that have to be manually done on their side of things. And we figured that out ourselves, right? When we came to Real, we're like, wow, this makes everything so much easier. We don't need this and this. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you eliminate people. It just means you can use them better in other areas rather than just doing paperwork that a tech stack can do instead.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's talk about commercial real estate real quick too. So, Real is for those of you agents out there, Real is essentially a residential real estate and leasing company. They don't do a ton of commercial. I mean, you can, but that's not really one of their deals. However, with Remax, they do have a commercial division, and I don't know how long that's going to take to integrate, but already they've been talking about that, which is really going to be a great opportunity for agents to have another option of real commercial.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And relocation. That's something else. I mean, obviously we have a relocation division at Real, but Remax has an even better, relocation department. So, again, how can we make Remax's relocation department better with our tech offerings?
Yep.
And how can Remax make Real's relocation department better with their long-term relationships and the systems that they already have in place with those systems? So again, it's a win-win for both parties on that side.
Absolutely. And I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I really am. I get along with the Remax agents. Well, who am I kidding? I get along with most agents very, very, very well. But there's a lot of really good real estate agents, especially in the Quad Cities. And I'm looking forward to teaming up with them and being Real Remax.
Yeah. And I think, was there anything else you had specifically that you'd heard before? Or there's something that I do want to make sure we cover if it's not something that you have.
No, absolutely. I was going to let you give final thoughts here on just anything that we potentially missed. I think we covered most of the outside questions or talkings that have occurred on social media.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing that we want to touch on a little bit, which was brought up in our meeting, brought up before, brought up after, and I think everyone at Real has been very clear on, this announcement does not mean, nor is it intended for Real agents to go poaching Remax agents from their offices or their franchise. That is 100% not what this is about. The leadership at Real was very clear that that type of behavior is not acceptable. If there's someone that you were already talking to at Remax, then those conversations if they were already considering Real, there's a reason why, right? So maybe they are a fit. And like I said before, there's probably going to be people. I mean, Tamir's vision is to say, hey, if somebody approaches Real and they're not a fit, okay, great. Maybe they're a fit for one of our Remax partners. And likewise, if someone approaches Remax and they're not a fit, hey, great. Maybe they're a fit for a Real partner. And they're trying to figure out how to do something within that, there will not be at this point for Remax agents, they will not participate in rev share. And the reason why is because their model is not set up where they pay into rev share. So where would the rev share come from, right? So, but they are looking at, maybe that referral, or if you, hey, go to Real, maybe there's a way somehow that Remax agent might still get paid rev share if they recruit them or attract them to Real, and vice versa. So they're looking at options of that because they want people to truly go to the model that works the best. But it is not, there's not there were so many things flying around on social. We had when we were sitting in the meeting, one of the agents on the East Coast got a text message from her good friend that runs a Remax franchise. And it was a text message. And she said, hey, I'm just going to read this in real time so we can talk about it. And it was from an agent that said, hey, or a Remax franchisor, hey, my agents are getting this message. And it said, from a Real agent saying, hey, just wanted to reach out to see if you've picked your sponsor yet at Real. I thought Tamir's head was going to pop off when she read that out loud. He was not happy about that because that is not the intention, that's not what's happening. And Remax people do not have to leave Remax to join Real, and they don't have to pick a sponsor. I mean, we think Real is the best thing since sliced bread, right? But obviously if you're at Remax and you're still there and you love it, then you must think that's the best thing since sliced bread. So now we're going to take the best parts of each of them and put them together. So just for anybody that's listening to this, if that is something that you're doing right now, or if you're a Remax agent and that is happening, I want to apologize on behalf of all Real agents because that should not be occurring. That's not what this is about. Do you want to add on to that, Brad?
No, that's exactly right. It's not meant to be that Real bought Remax, so you should come over to Real. That's not at all what Real leadership wants. They want them to be in the Real family. Like I had mentioned down at the conference, I've been around real estate my entire life, literally, and I've never seen. Bowie Realtors back when I was a little kid, they were a tight knit unit. but I've never seen a real estate company of this size be as close and the culture be the way that it is. And culture is the most overused word. So let me explain what I mean by it. That, like, last week, the CEO was there. He sat down, like you had mentioned, Andrea, twice in one day to make sure that we had all of our questions answered. That's why Tamir is just an incredible leader. And I really think the RE/MAX people, and those of you that aren't in the Quad Cities that haven't heard of Real, well, you obviously have now, as well as the rest of the country, but you'll be amazed of the culture of Real, which is going to be the culture of RE/MAX as well.
Yeah. And that's the only thing, I know we've really made this podcast a lot about the Real RE/MAX acquisition. And that wasn't really the intention. That wasn't really the intention of the $100 million roundtable or growth ambassador summit that was happening on that Tuesday. But because of the timing of it, it just kind of turned into that. But I do just want to speak just to a couple of minutes on going back to what Brad just said. Like, we were completely blown away. And like every time today I was at lunch with an agent that's coming to Real in our market, and I got emotional then, and I'm going to get emotional now. Like, it's just one of those things, like we've talked about on the previous podcast, like it's like, pinch me, right? This isn't real. And, I was saying to the person I was at lunch with, she's like, oh yeah, she's like, she's with EXP. She's like, when I was first joined EXP, I remember that too, like we always, would have calls with, so-and-so and so-and-so. And she's like, but it doesn't seem like there was ever that like face-to-face time like you guys get. And I said, you know what? You're 100% correct. I said, our previous brokerage, I said, our owners lived here, right? And yeah, we would see them from time to time, maybe at a Christmas party, or maybe once a year they'd invite us out for dinner or something, and as top agents in the company, but that's it. Right. And we've been with Real now for not even 3 years.
Almost 3 years. Yep.
And we have had sit down face-to-face time with Tamir, who lives not even in our country on a full-time basis, right, and has 30,000 agents across the United States and Canada twice, where he spent hours with us, and not just hours having dinner, but like answering questions. How can we be better? What can we do better? That's mind-blowing to me. And the third day, we had our builders group, and Sarah DeWolf, our business partner, was there as well for that. And, we sat down, we had breakouts, and I was telling the lady at lunch, I mean, our breakouts were the CEO from One Real Mortgage, the CEO from One Real Title, our CTO for Pritesh, our Chief Technology Officer, Dre Madden, our marketing person, Joel Gersh, our VP of Growth. It was literally sitting down, and in small groups, by 10 people? And literally same thing. What can we do better? What do you need help with? What do you need clarification? Taking notes. Like, that just doesn't happen in our world. And so when you talk about culture, that's in Dusty Oglesby, our VP of what is he, education.
Yeah.
Okay. He was there as well, doing different sessions and stuff like that, and just available to us, right? And that's just something, when you talk about culture, that's why the culture exists, because it's easy to care about the people that you sponsor into the company or the people on your team at Real, because we're cared about, right, by the leadership. And that's very evident in the things that they do for us. And it's just something that we have not experienced before. And I thought I'd seen it all until this week in Miami. And it was just, again,
it was pretty incredible.
It was mind blowing to me. And the collaboration between agents, like, our breakout sessions, it's like, the top teams all over the country just opening their playbooks. How does this work? Why does this work? Hey, send me that link, right? Like, where does that happen at?
Yeah, no, totally agree.
Yeah, it's a feeling inside. I know we say that culture is overused, but it's a feeling that each person it's different for each person, but it strikes those chords, right? Whether you feel that you're secure, whether you feel that you're heard. I mean, that's what culture is at the end of the day. And it continues to show in so many different ways, which I think is the most mind-blowing part of it. It never stops, right?
No. Totally agree. Yeah. No. And it's just like we've talked about a lot of times, like when we researched the company, we really thought, oh, this is too good to be true. It's even better than what we thought.
Yeah. And Wednesday, which we didn't even talk about yet, Brad was golfing with some friends and leaders and our coach. And Wednesday, I went to Velocity, which was also put on by Real. And Brian Lazine was the main speaker. And he literally spent morning and afternoon just hands-on workshops. And then Josh Rogers, I think his wife's named Carrie, I can't remember. They opened their playbook.
Partner, but yeah.
Sorry. So they opened their playbook to some social media stuff. I mean, it was And again, just class act the whole way. And it wasn't like you don't talk to anybody. It was the Q&A. Actually, I was laughing with a couple of people when I got back to the hotel, and you guys were already back from golfing, and you're like, what's taking you so long? Well, Brian Lazine went like a half hour past his time, like answering questions, like, just here's the mic. What do you want to know? What do you want to learn? Right. And that's just a cool thing.
Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing. I'm sure this won't be the last time that we talk about this up until August, September, and so forth. It's exciting. Everybody's sharing their thoughts, but just keep in mind too, when you're sharing your thoughts that, there's only limited information out at this point. Brad and Andrew were lucky enough to sit in and hear and get direct answers to what they could answer at the end of the day. But continue to ask questions, talk about it, because that's the only way that it's really going to work through if people have questions.
Well, and I would encourage you too, if you're a real agent, this was something that we were encouraged to do at that, and we're going to do this. Reach out to your RE/MAX friends, right? Go to lunch, have cocktails, ask each other questions. Open your text app and stack and show them how it works, so they can start to feel comfortable with some of the exciting things that they have coming, and vice versa, right? I think that's very important, like to foster those relationships, because at the end of the day, we're going to be partners now, right? And so that's cool. The other thing that kept coming up, BG, and I couldn't help but laugh. So there was somebody had a goal. Was it Real as a Whole, or Jason Cassidy, our new VP of or what is he, Chief Growth Officer? Yep. So he had a goal of 100,000 agents, right, by the end of the year. So the joke was,
well, good job to achieve that.
Because RE/MAX is what, 180,000?
Good
job,
right? Jason.
So and we have 30. So we're already there. He's done. He can just go on vacation.
Great job, Jason.
Great job, Mr. Cassidy.
We love it. Well, share your thoughts in the comments, and we'll see you in the next episode. Peace.